We greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 5 of Dr. Ida, the story of Ida Scudder. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, and comes to you from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.
At some point in my struggle to decide upon a life vocation, I began to make a distinction between image and call. I had rebelled against being a missionary for so long, and one day it dawned upon me that I was really fighting what I thought people wanted or expected me to be, rather than taking a good hard look at how I might best serve God. I was not yet ready to decide for missionary service, but at least I did admit to myself that it was an alternative, and that it required a call, which I did not have. One night I was answering a letter to Annie Hancock, my former school chum at Northfield Academy. I had become accustomed to the many strange sounds one heard during the night. They didn't frighten me, usually.
Who's there? I know someone is outside.
Please, Missy, let me speak with you. Please, do not be frightened.
You're a Brahmin priest.
I am of that caste, yes.
Can I do anything for you? Is anything wrong?
Oh, yes, Amal. I desperately need your help. My wife, who is a young girl of only 14 years, is dying in childbirth. The barber woman can do nothing for her. She says my wife must die. And Amal, she is such a lovely girl.
She's only 14?
I heard you had come to India from America, and I thought you might help her.
It's my father you want. I can't help you. He's the doctor, and he's right next door in his study. He's still up. Come, I'll take you to him.
You insult me, young lady. You ask me to take a man into my house to care for my wife. No man, other than those of her own family, have ever looked upon her.
Surely you don't mean that.
If you will not help her, I must go away.
Don't go. I'll go, but with my father. He'll tell me what to do. He wouldn't have to touch her.
No, I must go.
You said your wife is very young and beautiful, and that she's dying. Don't you care?
It is better that she should die than that another man should look upon her face. You will not come, Amal, alone?
It would do no good. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything. I'd be no better than the barber's wife.
He's gone, Ida.
Oh, Dad. Did you hear?
Most of it, and I've heard this kind of story before.
You could have gone with me and told me what to do.
The Brahmins would not allow it.
I couldn't have done anything by myself. I am no better than the barber's wife.
I'm afraid you'd not be nearly as good. Even though those midwives are crude and unsanitary, at least they have their instruments and their techniques and experience.
And I have nothing. Why? Why must such things be?
Because it is the rule, the custom. My going to see his wife would violate his caste law.
Custom? Law? When someone is dying?
Surely you've known about these things before, my child. You know the rigid caste system, which separates Hindus by reason of their birth or sex into specific social groups, priests, warriors, merchants, laborers. Each group is exclusive to itself, and women have no real status in any group.
I visited a Brahmin home once with Mother and the Bible woman.
And what happened when the man of the house appeared?
The women immediately put on their veils.
You went with me once on a house call to a high-caste home, remember? I had to take the pulse of the woman by holding her wrist, which she placed through a small hole in a curtain. Even that was rare. But I never could examine her. I couldn't diagnose her illness.
But this was a matter of life and death.
Your visitor is a deeply religious man. We must respect him for it.
Respect him? How can I? He's allowing someone to suffer. His wife may die, and she's not much more than a child.
Perhaps he's sacrificing more for his convictions than we are for ours. He looked to me as if he really loves his little wife.
I'm sorry. I can't understand that kind of love.
Go back to your room now, Ida, and try to forget it.
Forget it?
It's a lesson I learned long ago. If I hadn't, I shouldn't have been able to bear to live in a country where there's so much superstition and suffering and despair. When there's nothing you can do to remedy a bad situation, then it's the better part of wisdom to forget it.
I went back to my room, but wondered if I could ever forget. I stared at the letter I had begun to Annie Hancock. The last words I had written were, "Annie, you might really like it here. I can see you going into the zananas, the women's quarters in Indian homes, and visiting the little wives and mothers. Some of them have to live all of their lives within 4 walls. And they're so young, Annie, not nearly as old as you and I."
He's back. The young Brahmin has come back. Where's my sweater? It'll save time. I knew you cared. I knew you'd...
Salam, madam. May Allah grant your peace if you could help me.
What can I do for you, sir?
It is my wife. She has had other children, but this time the little one does not come. There is no one to help her but an ignorant, untrained woman. I am afraid she is dying. Please forgive me for troubling you. I have heard there is a doctor here. One not long since come from America.
Yes. Let me call my father. Dad! Dad, please come here. He's the doctor you're looking for. And if you like, I'll be glad to go along and try to help.
Oh, madame, you do not understand our ways. Only the men of her immediate family ever enter a Muslim woman's apartment. It is you, a woman, whose help I have come seeking, not the help of a man.
But I can't help you. I'm not even a nurse.
Then my wife must die. Inshallah. It is the will of Allah.
Dad, it's not possible. These coincidences happen only in fiction, never in real life.
I returned to my letter and tried to write. But how can you write when you are angry and frustrated, and the tears fall unabatedly on your writing tablet? 14. How did I feel when I was 14? My mother had returned to India when I was 14, and I was all alone. I had cried then, too. I just had to do something. If I didn't, I would scream. So I went to my closet and took out all my dresses, shaking them out, placing them on my bed, checking for mildew. Then I went to my dresser and poured some water into the basin and washed my face. Then I went back to my wardrobe and picked up a dress, shaking it out. Only then did I realize that the dress I had picked up was one I had first worn when I was 14. I was certain that one of the 2 husbands had returned.
Oh, Missy Amar, I have much trouble.
I know you. You're the father of one of my girls in the school. Kamla, is she all right?
No, Kamal, Missy Amar. I have much trouble. Please come to my house. I need much help.
It isn't your wife.
Yes. How did Missy know? Oh, she's sick, much sick. I come get Missy Almer to come. If she not come, my wife dies.
Please don't kneel to me.
Then Missy Almer will come.
I can do no good. I am not a physician. Let me call my father. You must know him. He's the doctor.
Missy Almer will not come.
Can't you understand? Can't any of you understand? There's nothing I can do.
My father had told me to forget. But 3 such events, all in one night. I wonder if this sounds contrived to you. Let me assure you that it happened just as I told it. The 3 visitors, all on the same night. I couldn't forget. I have never forgotten. I went to my bed, but I didn't sleep well that night. In my own way, I saw myself as Samuel. In my restless sleep, I thought I heard someone speak to me. But what nonsense, I thought. God doesn't speak out loud to people today.
God doesn't speak today, Ida? You have eyes to see things, haven't you? Like children lying by the roadside. Ears to hear people coming to your door.
But it's not my fault if they're foolish enough to let their wives die. Father could have helped them. It's nothing to me.
Isn't it? Aren't you a woman? Don't you love life? Some of these mothers are only 14.
Stop it. My father said to forget it.
Forget it? Only if you can't do something to remedy the situation.
But there's nothing I can do.
Nothing? With 3 women dying less than a mile away for want of a doctor. With millions more...
No! I couldn't do that. Not if God himself were to ask.
Can't you understand, Ida Scudder? It is God himself who asks.
I have brought you your breakfast, Missy Ida.
Put it down, sorry. I may eat something later. You did what I asked.
I did so, Missy.
You were able to find all the places.
I found them, including the house of the Muslim.
And the 3 women who were sick?
They are all dead.
All 3 of them?
The 3 women all died in childbirth, Missy Ida.
May I interrupt you 2 for a moment?
Have you had breakfast, Ida? Have some fruit at least. Why, you look as though you hadn't slept.
I didn't sleep very well. I have something to tell both of you. I have decided that I will return to America. I have decided to become a doctor. And I have decided to return as a doctor so I can help the women of India.
And so we conclude Chapter 5 of Dr. Ida, the story of Ida Scudder. Stories of great Christians, coming to you from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.